Okay, so let me introduce, let's say myself is Mia. Company is SL Software Solution, Sena Berhad, and my position is software consultant. And then what did you eat for breakfast? I ate roti sardine this morning. Okay, and then what do you expect from today's training? So I hope that you can see the e-invoice features lah. Okay, how to submit standard e-invoice, consolidated, and also self-built e-invoice through AutoCount. Okay. For today's course outline is, firstly, I will show you the AutoCount e-invoice mechanism, okay? And then the crucial part is the AutoCount pre-invoicing setup, okay? So what setup that you need to do before you start the e-invoicing, okay? And then we'll show you how to submit the standard e-invoice, consolidated e-invoice, self-built e-invoice, and then lastly, to show you the function of the interim relaxation period and submission error, okay? And then we'll go through the frequent asked questions. Okay, so firstly, AutoCount have created an AIP server, okay, that connected to the LHDN e-Invoice server. So all the systems in AutoCount will send all the submission at our AIP server first. Later on, only send to the LHDN e-Invoice server. Okay, so these are the benefits lah. So because it is run 24/7, so let's say the LHDN e-Invoice system is run down. Okay, so you still can submit. It will save at our AIP server. When the LHDN come back to normal, it will auto submit to the portal. Okay, so it will protect the double submission. Okay, all the TIN that collect in the AutoCount, other AutoCount user also can retrieve the TIN information. Okay. Okay. So as you all know, that LHDN has created a two mode. Okay, for MyInvois, which has the live portal and sandbox portal. Sandbox is for testing lah. Okay, for today's training, I will show the e-invoice features that is revision 27. This is the latest version lah. Okay, so if you are a version that is lower, let's say 24 or 23 or 20, that one the function for the setting is a bit different. Okay, so later on you can ask our support to upgrade lah your AutoCount to the latest version. Okay, so for AutoCount, we also can link to the live portal and the testing portal, which is the sandbox lah. That is called pre-pod, if you have heard lah. Okay, so you go to e-invoice setting. So here is the setting that we need to link with the MyInvoice portal. Okay, so I need to remind you that to link with the live portal, you use your real data, your real account book. But to link with the pre-pod or the testing mode, I highly advise you do not use your real data. Okay, need to create a testing account book and then link to that pre-pod, to that sandbox if you want to do for testing. Okay, so for creating that testing account book, you can ask assistance from our support group. Okay, so as you can see, now my account book is in AIP staging. So this AIP staging is linking with the pre-pod. Okay, so for the real account book, this one, it is in AIP production. Okay, for real account book is in AIP production. Okay, so for e-invoice setting, to register the MyInvoice portal or the pre-pod, okay, that one you need to get assist from your accountant lah, okay, or you can do by yourself. But from our side, we can help linking that MyInvoice and that pre-pod to the AutoCount. To do the linking, you go to e-invoice, okay, and then e-invoice setting. Okay, so here you need to enable the e-invoice. You go to setting here and then enable the e-invoice. Okay, so you need to check when is your e-invoicing implementation will start. Okay, as you all know, that is news from LHDN that it has been postponed, right? Okay, above 5 million will start 1st January 2025. Okay, 1 million to 5 million will start at 1st January 2026. Okay. Okay, and then below 1 million will start at 1st July 2026. Okay, so if you have put the start date to 1st July, okay, you can edit here lah. Okay, you change from 1st July 2025 to 1st January 2026. Okay. Okay, so once you enable the e-invoice start date, okay, you can tick allow interim relaxation period. Okay, so the interim relaxation period is 6 months. Okay, so if you start 1st January 2026, okay, so the interim relaxation period is until 30 June 2026. Okay, and then here you need to tick allow to create consolidated e-invoice. Okay, so if this option is turned off, then every invoice must provide a tax entity so that it can be submitted for e-invoice. So for those industries that is not allowed to consolidate, such as automotive, okay, that's selling car, they cannot do consolidate, right? So they cannot tick this one. Okay, if you are business that is under that industry that not allowed to consolidate, you need to untick. Okay. Okay. So another function in the auto count on the latest version, it can use today's date as submission date when document date is not a valid submission date. Okay, so let's say your document is backdated more than 3 days, you still can submit on that day. Okay, so later on I will show you how to do the submission. Okay, the sample of the backdated e-invoice submission. Okay, so in this one you can tick, and then the latest version also can set the default classification code. Okay, so let's say all of your item, your stock is not categorized in any of the category classification code provided by LHDN. Okay, you can set it to 022. Okay, which is others. Okay, so this one you can set for all your items, so you don't need to set one by one. Okay, and then here also have a new function, which is auto email validated e-invoice setting. Okay. So, Miss Angie said that don't have e-invoice on my system yet. Okay. So, Miss Angie, you need to make sure that you have upgraded to the latest version, okay, which is 2.2. Okay. But if your version is lower than my version, which is not revision 27, okay, the e-invoice is not at here. Okay. Sorry, I go out a while. For the version, if any of the participants, the version is lower than mine, you need to enable first, only can see the function. You go to Tools, Option, and then go to Country and Tax. And then here we'll have a new tab, which is for e-invoice. And then you click that tab e-invoice, and then you need to enable e-invoice. Okay, I cannot show you because my version is higher lah. Okay, for the latest version, the invoice dia sudah bawa keluar dekat sini. Okay, but for lower version, the invoice in here. You need to enable first lah. Okay, so I continue back. Okay, so for the latest version also, there is a function that is have auto email validated e-invoice setting. Okay, so if you enable this, okay, this one, that is you can submit the e-invoice. The system will auto submit the e-invoice to your client, okay, after it has been validated. Okay, means you don't need to print out and send to your client, or you don't need to WhatsApp. It will auto email to your client. Okay, so here you can tick, and then you can choose which format that you want to send to your client. Okay, if you have your existing format and then have put the QR code, and then you can choose that format lah. Okay, and then here you need to get the assistance from our support group to link your AutoCount with your Gmail. Okay, so that once linking, you can direct submit from AutoCount. Okay. Okay, so this one is update e-invoice code list. Okay, so this button is to update any additional code that provided by LHDN in future. So you just click this button and then it will update the code list. Let's say LHDN got updated the country code, the classification code, the MSIC code. You just click this button, it will update in AutoCount. Okay. Okay. So here is for the enable the e-invoice setting. Okay. Clear? After enable, another step that you need to do is you need to update your company tax information. Okay. So here, e-invoice status, you click this button, activate e-invoice on AIP server. Okay. Firstly, once you are already registered to the MyInvoice portal or the pre-port, okay, you will get the client ID and client secret. Okay, once you register the ERP. Okay, so that client ID and client secret you need to paste here. Okay, and then you also need to update your company tax information. Okay, so you click this button. So you need to add your company TIN lah. Okay, so for your company is business, your company TIN, company BRN, MSIC code, okay, business activity descriptions, registered name, phone, okay, make sure the phone is in this format, +6, no space, and no dash, okay, email address, postcode, city, state, and country, okay, so you need to fill up your company information, okay. So this is the two steps that you need to do for enable the e-invoice setting and then to link your AutoCount with the MyInvoice portal. Okay, just now I already show you how to update the e-invoice, enable the invoice and invoice start date lah. Okay, so that is the first step for the e-invoicing onboarding. Okay, so next one is update the buyer or TIN information. Okay, and then later on I will show you how to update the data classification code for your item and product. And then we'll help you update unit measurement code, but this one is optional. No need to update also can, still can submit e-invoice, but the classification code is compulsory. Okay, and then lastly is to update currency code for those business that have import or export. Okay, so is the first step clear about the e-invoice start date? Okay, so I will show you the next one is update the buyer TIN information. Okay, sorry, Miss Angie, should be like this. For the version that is below 27, here got the country and tax, and then go to e-invoice, okay, and then you enable the e-invoice, okay. So this is for the lower version. For the higher version, go to the setting that I showed just now lah, okay. So now, to update the tax entity, there are few ways lah, okay. So you can choose which ways is match with your practice, okay. So firstly, I will show you how to update it manually, okay? And then how to search from our AIP server, and then how to send the link to your buyer so that your buyer can fill up their TIN information. And then you can load in your AutoCount, or you can import by Excel. Okay, so now, to update the tax entity, okay, so actually here in AutoCount, after you enable the e-invoice, means have the invoice function, there will be a new function here under tax, which is tax entity maintenance. Okay, so here is all the TIN information saved in your AutoCount. Either it is your company TIN, it is your client TIN, or for your supplier TIN, all TIN is saved in here, maintained here. Okay, so to add the TIN for your customer manually, okay, as usual, you go to debtor maintenance lah. Okay, AR debtor maintenance. Okay, so let's say this is your customer, SL Software Solution, Sendirian Berhad. Okay, you go to edit. Okay, all your customer information here. I don't have the phone number. Okay, so to add the TIN, here have a new column, tax entity / TIN. Okay, so here actually you can choose lah which TIN. But if you haven't add the TIN yet, you can add here, add new. Okay, when you click add new, it will load the information. Okay, business, okay, category is business lah. If your customer is individual, you put individual. If it's government, you put government. Okay, and then the BRN will auto load if you fill up in here. Okay, and the phone number also will load lah if you update here. Okay, so let's say you have your customer BRN, okay, but you don't have their TIN. Okay, so AutoCount have a new function, which is it can search the TIN from the MyInvoice portal. Okay, here have the search button. Make sure you fill up the correct BRN lah. Okay, the new BRN, and then you click the search button, and then it can get the TIN from the MyInvoice portal, and then it will auto fill up in this column. Okay, so for your client that you already have their TIN, you just add new, and then make sure you got the BRN. Okay, and then you just search the TIN, and it will load here. Okay, for MSIC code, you can ask from your client lah, what is the MSIC code. Okay, but if they don't know their MSIC code, you can put 5-digit 0. Okay, later on I will repeat again. Okay, and then the business activity description, okay, is follow the MSIC code lah. Okay, so let's say if the MSIC code, if this one, so it will auto put in here. So you need to check if your client, what is their MSIC code. Okay, and then this is your registered name. And then phone number. Okay, make sure got +6. Let's say +6 015 2215. Okay, no space and no dash. And then email address, and then address. So for address here, you only put the first 2 lines. Okay, the postcode, city, state, and country you need to fill up in their column below here. Okay, so this is how you want to add manually, and then you click save. Okay, so this one I cannot save because I already added lah. Okay, if you haven't added yet, you can click save. Okay, so I repeat again. So you go to this chapter. Okay, here he doesn't have the tin yet. Okay, so you need to go to edit. Okay, here have a new column. Okay, text entity or tin. So you click this down arrow. If have the tin, you can choose here lah. Okay, but if haven't have yet, you need to add new. When you add new, all the information, if you have filled up here, it will auto fill up at the text entity here. Okay, so here, make sure you fill up the new SSM number, BRN, from your customer. Okay, no need to put the new and old SSM, just the new SSM. Okay, and then you click this search tin. This search tin will search the tin from the MyInvoice portal. Okay, and then it will auto fill up. Okay, and then MSIC code, you need to check with your customer lah. What is their MSIC code? Okay, registered name, phone number, okay, +6, and no space and no dash. Email address, okay, address, only the first 2 lines, and then postcode, city, state, and country. Okay, so this is how you want to add. So let's say this one already add. Okay, so if already add, make sure you choose the correct name lah for this client. Okay, so that is the first step. How about if the debtor or creditor are in business, but they only provide the individual tin? Cannot. If you want to bill, if they request for their company, e-invoice for their company, they need to give their company tin. Okay, if they give their personal tin, that e-invoice will be their personal expenses. Okay, not their company expenses. Okay. Okay, for cash sale, I will explain in the cash sale part. Okay. So that is the first step lah if you want to add manually. Okay. So as you can see here, have a new column, right, for tax entity ID. So this is, you can drag out lah. If your current listing doesn't have this column, you can drag out by right click the header and then go to column chooser and then you drag out this tax entity. So let's say this one doesn't have. You drag again the tax entity so that you can see which company already loaded, which company haven't loaded the tax entity yet. Okay. Okay. So now, I want to show you another sample if you want to search from AIP server. Okay, if you want to search from AIP. If let's say your client also a customer for another AutoCount user. So that supplier already add up their information in the AutoCount. So their information also submit in our AIP server. So other AutoCount user also can retrieve that information through our AIP. So how to do it? You go to edit. Okay, let's say this one doesn't have yet. So you go get tin from AIP server. You tick this one. Okay, so to search from AIP server, there are a few ways lah, either by company name, tin, or BRN. Okay, if you want to go by search by company name, make sure you fill up the full name. Okay, and then you click search. Okay, and then if have, you can select and then add to text entity. Okay, and then all the information will load it, and then you can click save. Okay, so this one I cannot save because I already added. Okay, so this is for another step lah. Okay, but let's say the customer that you search in the AIP server is not exist. Okay, so let's say this one global company. Okay, you search by one global company and then no result found. Okay, means their information is not yet updated in our AIP server. So you either you want to manually ask your customer or you can go for another way, which is send link to the buyer. Okay, how to do this step? You tick this one, request company tax information. Okay, so it will prompt like this. Okay, you need to fill up your email. Okay, so this one you want to put your company email or your admin email. Okay, so that once the customer fill up, updated, it will get notified in this email. So you choose which email to be notified lah. Okay, and then make sure your customer company name is correct, and then you tick this one, get link. Okay, please make sure all the entries are correct. Okay, and then you generate. So once you generate, you can copy this requested link. Okay, once you copy, you can send by WhatsApp or email to your client. So once your client open, it will open up like this lah. Company tax information request. So their company name is filled up here, and then they need to fill up their email. Okay, choose their classification, business lah, and then fill up their TIN, BRN. Okay, this one can skip if don't have, and then update their MSIC code. Okay, business activity description, phone number. Okay, address, postcode, city, state, and country, and then tick here and then submit. Okay, once they submit, you will get notified in your email. Okay, so once you get notified, you will get like this lah. Okay, so this one actually I already filled up lah. Okay, once you get notified, you just get in from AIP server. Okay, when you click this one, it will auto prompt the information that your customer already filled up. Okay, so you can click save. Okay, and then once save, it will auto load here lah. This one because I already added lah. Okay, so this is how you want to send link to your customer and then get in your AutoCount. Okay, so the last, okay, another one, actually the send link to the buyer have a two-way lah. Either you want to send the link one by one, or you want to send batch in batch. Okay, so let's say you don't want to send the link one by one. You want to send the link for all your customer. Okay, so let's say I add a new customer. Okay, and then I put my email. Okay, so how to send the link by batch? Okay, you go to find. Okay, and then you click search. So here we'll load all your customer lah. Okay, and then you need to check all. Check all, and then you click here, batch get tin. Okay, are you sure you want to batch get tin the following debtors? And then you click yes. So it will open a new window, which is batch get tin. Okay, so by default, it will exclude all the records with link and exclude all the records with tax entity. Okay, so if you untick, it will show all the information lah. Okay, but this one you need to tick lah because you don't want to send a double link, okay, to your customer. And then here is your notify email lah. When the customer already updated, which email that you want to be notified. Okay. Okay, so if you want to set the auto reminder, you can tick this one lah. Okay, but if you want, you just untick. So for this one, after you get your customer, okay, if don't have email, you also can add the email here. Okay, and then you need to generate request link and send. Okay, once you generate, you can see the log file. Generate request link success to send generate link by email success. Okay, so we show you here lah. Okay, if fail, it will show fail. Okay, so once your customer already fill up, you can tick this one lah, retrieve and update the tax entity. Okay, if they untick, you might not get the information. Make sure your customer tick that the share one lah, this one. Share your company tax information to allow other AutoCount users to search your company in AutoCount accounting software. Okay, so just remind your customer to tick this one. Okay. Okay, so this is how you want to send the link lah. Okay, once retrieved, it will show the text entity here. Okay, and it auto load for your customer. Okay, so you can choose any of the way to get your customer key information. Oh, and the last one is import by Excel. Okay. So for import by Excel, you need to get the Excel template from our support team lah. Okay. After you fill up, you can send back to us, and we will assist you to import back in AutoCount. Okay. So this is the last one lah. So for this import by Excel, let's say you already sent to your client manually. Okay. So you want to fill up by yourself, so you can use this method lah. Okay. So you can choose which method suits you the most lah. Okay. So I repeat again, to get the TIN from your customer, there are a few ways. Okay, first you can add manually. You can edit the adapter, and then you can retrieve the TIN from the uh, MyInvoice portal. Let's say if you want to get for individual, okay, let's say like you put for individual, same also. You put the My Card. Okay, let's say this is the IC. You click the search button, and then it will retrieve the personal TIN lah for this customer. Okay, this is for individual. Okay, for business, make sure you put the new SSM. Okay, so another way is to search the TIN from the AIP server. Okay, you click this search button. Okay, get TIN from AIP server. Okay, if the second method cannot also, you can send link to your buyer. That is the third method lah. Either you want to send link manually, okay, through here, or you want to send link by batch, you go here, find, select all, check all, and batch get TIN. Okay, our last step is to send by import by Excel. Okay, so there are the few ways for getting from your customer. Okay, so now let us go for the classification code. Okay, remember that at the beginning of the training, I got show you that we can set the default classification code, right? Okay, so that is for the business that all the items all using the same code. Okay, so you can choose that code lah. But if your business have different item have mixed code, okay, because if some of you don't know what is classification code, it is not an item code, okay, it is a classification code for tax purpose provided by LHDN. That is around 45 code, okay, which is a 3-digit number from 001 to 045. Okay, so these are the code lah. Okay, 025. So 022 just now is for others. Okay. And then 036, lastly 045. Okay. So I can show you a sample for a phone business. Okay. I'm selling phone lah. Okay. For selling phone, you can see for computer, smartphone, or tablet is fall under 003. Okay. So how I want to maintain my product? Okay. So here I go to stock item maintenance. Okay, so here are my stock lah. Okay, you can see in my business, I also sell phone accessories. Okay, I also sell phone, laptop. Okay, but for this laptop phone is under 003. Okay, but for this accessories is fall under 022. Okay, take this one lah. Okay, so if you want to edit manually, you go to edit. So here has a new column, classification. Okay, so you go to 003. Okay, so this is the classification for phone. Okay, so you can see this classification code is not an item code. Okay, your item code is really the same. It is a new classification code that you need to update for LHDN purpose. Okay, so here is how you want to update manually. Okay, so this is how you want to update manually. Okay, so another step is you can update by batch. We call it easy edit. Okay, so to update it by batch, okay, let's say this group of phone all under the same group phone. So I want to set all to 003. Okay, so how to do it? You can go to find. So you search the keyword phone for the item group lah. Okay, so I search all the item group under phone, and then you check all. Okay, am I too fast? And then you check all, and then you go to easy item. Okay. After you go to easy item, here is where you can edit all the items here lah. Okay, but I want to update all the classification here. Okay, I don't want to update one by one. So how to update all? You need to select all. This one is to select all. Okay, this blue button is to select all. And then this red button is to range set. Okay, after you click this blue button, you click this one. So it will prompt range set. Okay, and then range set, you can choose which column that you want to update. But now I just want to update this classification. So you tick this one, classification, and then here you change to 003. Okay, and then you click apply. Now all already changed to 003. Okay, once you updated, you need to click save. Okay, and then after you save, you need to click here, refresh lah. Now all my group of phone already updated. Okay, so actually for those the item that I didn't set, the default is 00022 lah, because I already set here. Okay, just now at the beginning here, we can set the default classification code. Okay, kita set lagi. Okay. So another way, the last method is import by Excel. Okay, so for import by Excel, you can get the template from our team. This template. Okay, and then there is a column for classification code. You can update, and then we can assist you import back in AutoCount lah. Okay, so that is the step how to add the classification code for your item. Okay, so item classification code is a requirement for submit e-invoice. If you didn't update the classification code, system will prompt some details missing classification. Okay. Okay, so actually in this slide, if you have this slide, kan, you boleh masuk itu link. Okay, so in this slide, we have, you either can check in our slide, the table just now, okay, or you can scan this code. Okay, this code will bring you to the MyInvoice portal. Okay, in this MyInvoice portal, got the classification code, country codes, currency codes, e-invoice type, MSIC code, all the codes have there. Okay, if you want to check, you can check at there lah. Okay, so for manufacturing company, you need to check back with your accountant what is the classification code for your item. Okay, after the classification code is the unit of measurement. Okay, so like I said just now, classification code is compulsory. Okay, but unit of measurement is not compulsory. Okay, LHDN got provided many UOM lah, unit of measurement. But if you didn't update also, still able to submit to LHDN. Okay, you can use your existing UOM. But if you still want to update, yeah, I can show you how to update it. Let's say this item, edit. You go to others. Okay, when you edit the item, you go to others, and then here have a e-invoice measurement. So here got all the measurement from LHDN. Okay, so you can choose which UOM lah. Okay, but if you didn't update this, also still can submit. This is just optional lah. Okay. So next one is update currency code. So for the currency code, you need to check back either your currency code got follow the LHDN code. Okay, because LHDN got provide the code for this currency code. So if your system is not following the code from LHDN, okay, you can change the currency code lah. Okay, so let's say for currency code general maintenance, okay, and then go to currency maintenance. Okay, so let's say this one is CNY. Okay, currently you use CNY, but if I'm not mistaken, now already changed to CNH, right? CNH. So how you want to change the code? You go to tools. Okay, you go to change code. Okay, and then change currency code. Tools, change code, change currency code. Okay, you add the code. So you find the code, let's say the CNY, and then you change to CNH. So you need to check back lah, okay, which is the correct code that you need to use. Okay. So this is how you want to change the code lah. Okay, for this code, you need to check back with the LHDN portal. Okay, what is the correct code that you need to use? Okay, let us go to the standard e-invoice. Okay, so after you upgrade to the latest version, AutoCount have updated the new system logic. Okay, like previously, when you save the document like invoice, credit note, all that, you save and then save and preview, right? But now it have a approve, save as draft or approve. Okay, so this is a new system logic lah. Okay, so for this new system logic, by default, it is enable for credit note, debit note, invoice, and self-bill, because all these 4 documents is involved in the e-invoice submission. Okay, but for others, if you want to apply it, you can tick lah. But if you don't want to use the new system logic, you want to use the old one, you can untick. Okay, and then once updated to this version, system will set an approved document will be automatically marked as expired after 10 days. Okay, so here you can change lah. Either you want it to expire after 30 days. Okay, let's say if you save as draft and no action is taken for this invoice, after 10 days or after 30 days that you set here, it will auto expire. Expired means voided lah. Okay, you cannot edit or submit again that invoice. You need to create a new invoice. Okay. Okay, so actually it is the same notes, only the activities that is I added lah. Okay, just the activities is not in the note. Okay, because the activities I add for different training lah. Okay, but the basic theory is still the same, no update. Okay, so basically for this document status flow, first, if you save as draft or you submit for approval, okay, and then it will this one will not submit to LHDN, will not submit to RMBM. Only approve will submit to RMBM. Okay. Why AutoCount create this new system logic for this document status flow? Because once approved, you cannot edit anymore, right? So it create kind of a filter process so that one of your staff can save as draft or submit for approval first, and then another staff can double check it and then approve it and submit to IRBM. Okay. So like I said just now, if you put save as draft or submit for approval, it will auto go to expired. Okay, after that days that you have set lah. Okay, if no action taken. Okay, but once approved, it will auto submit to RBM, and if you void the approved document, it will consider as cancelled. Cancel the document lah, and also in RBM also will be cancelled. Okay, for this cancel, only can cancel within 72 hours. Okay, after 72 hours, you need to do CN. Okay. So this one, we can suggest you create 2 types of user lah, either for requester and approver. So a requester, they only can save as draft or submit for approval. But as an approver, they can approve and reject. Okay, or draft and then approve. So this is the filter column lah for the new version. Okay, all draft rejected, awaiting approval, approved, void, and expired. Okay, so in the document also you can see either in which status. Okay, and then you also can check the status log for each document, who submit and who approved the document. Okay, and then if in one day there are many invoices that have submitted for approval, okay, the approver can approve all the document in one shot. Okay, so it can go to this draft or rejected column, check all, and then approve. So it will approve all the document lah after they check. Okay, so let me show you. This is how you want to set your client for local business. Okay, make sure for local business, the TIN number, no spacing between the numbers and characters. Okay, and then the BRN, make sure only use the new BRN, new SSN number. Okay, and then the MSIC code, if they don't give you the MSIC code, you can put 5-digit 0. Okay, and then the phone number, make sure no spacing, no dash, and then need to add +6. Okay, and then email address, only one email address. Okay, and then address, only put the first 2 lines. And then the last line for the postcode, city, state, and country, you put in their column. Okay, okay, so this is the sample of the e-invoice lah. Okay, so for individual, local and foreign individual, this one I will show you in the consolidated part later on. Okay. So just now got someone asked for the foreign buyer. For foreign buyer, you need to change to foreign business. Okay, select foreign business. And then you can see the red star is different. Okay, you don't need to update the TIN and BRN. Okay, because for foreign business, they don't have the TIN and BRN. Okay, you just put the MSIC code to 5-digit 0. And then name of the company. The phone number is compulsory. No spacing allowed. Okay, and no dash. I need to add the plus the country code lah. Okay, at the front. And then the email address, postcode, city, state, and country. Okay, so when you leave it blank, for this foreign business, system will auto put it as EI9020 for foreign buyer. This is the general TIN provided by LHDN. If it is a supplier, it will put as EI9030. Okay. If they didn't give you MSIC code, you just put 5-digit 0. Okay. Okay. So for government, okay, if your customer also is a government, so you just leave it blank because government also don't have this TIN and BRN. When you leave it blank, system will auto put EI9040 for this government. Okay, this is the general TIN for government lah. Okay, and then MSIC code also 5-digit 0. Okay, phone number also need to add +6. This one is typo. +6, no space and no dash. Email address just one. Address the first 2 line, and then postcode, city, state, and country. Okay, so let me show you in AutoCount. So let's say you want to add another user, general maintenance, user maintenance. So let's say this is my staff lah. Okay, this staff is not allowed to approve. Okay, only admin allowed to approve. So you as a manager, you can set lah how you want to set for the approval flow for your company. Okay, so let's say the staff cannot approve. So you need to set at the access right. Okay, you go to general maintenance, access right maintenance. Okay, so here, you search for approve invoice. Okay, take this one, approve invoice. So here, you can put only admin that allowed to approve. Okay, so admins, this one is group lah. But if you want to only one user that can approve, you can tick only this user, like this. Okay, but if only admins group can approve, you can put like this lah. Okay. So let's say I log in as Kamil. Okay, on Kamil's side, when he want to create invoice, okay, so you can see here, Kamil only can save as draft and preview, save as draft and print, or submit for approval. He cannot approve the document. So let's say I choose standard e-invoice. Okay, and then I submit for approval. Okay, so now the status is awaiting approval. Okay, but if I look up, I log in as admin. This one is admin lah. Okay. So I can see this awaiting approval. If I edit this document, okay, you can see I can save, approve and preview, or approve and print. Okay. So if I approve the document, pending. Okay. Refresh, submitted. Submitted means already submit to the LHDN lah. Okay. Now it's valid. Okay. If I view back the document, you can see here the status up here changed to approved. E-invoice status is valid. Okay. So for this customer, okay, if you preview, here have a new format lah, invoice, Malaysia invoice. This format, these two format that is written here, Malaysia invoice, have the QR code once validated. But if you want to add the QR code at your existing format, you can get assist from our team to copy the QR code to your existing format lah. Okay. So let's say I preview this. Okay, later on I show you how to void the document. Okay. Okay, so you can see, once validated, it will have the QR code. Okay, so this QR code is linked to the MyInvoice portal, show valid. Okay, so just now, remember that I got set auto email validated kan? Okay, this one, auto email validated. Okay, so make sure this customer got set up their email. Okay, let's say this customer is standard e-invoice. You can see here, I already updated the email. Okay, once updated the email and it is already valid, you can see in my email. I got the email from this company. Dear standard e-invoice, attached together is a validated e-invoice I000102 11th June 2025. Okay, so your customer will receive the validated e-invoice. Okay, once valid. Can the Camille site print the e-invoice? Yes, sure can. Because, okay, this Camille, okay, this one is Camille. Refresh, now already valid kan? So he also can preview and print. Okay, if he doesn't have the access, you can check the access right, okay, for the print and preview. Okay, open the access for him lah. Okay, he also can print and preview. But if you already send the invoice by email, you don't need to print and preview again lah. Okay. So, let's say you also have a few documents that is saved as draft. Okay. 5 June, standard invoice. Okay, save as draft. Then another one. This one is backdated. As you can see, I put the date is 5 June. And then another one, I put 10 June, yesterday. Okay. Okay, and then this one is also saved as draft. Okay, so this one is admin side. So you can see at the draft and rejected have two documents. Okay, two documents here, and then it is a backdated invoice. Yeah, so this one is 5 June, and another one is 10 June. Okay, so you can see all is backdated. You check all, and then you want, why submit for approval? Sorry, I open as admin. I go to draft and reject it. Okay, so now you have a approve button. Okay, so here have a two draft document. You check all, and then after you have checked, you can do approve. Okay, so here you can see there is a new column. Use today's date as submission date when document date is not a valid submission date. So this is for the document is already backdated more than 3 days. So make sure this one is tick lah. So when you tick, can see pending fresh. Okay, you can see this document, these two documents, the date is 5 June. Okay, but the submission is issued on 11 June 2025. Okay, so means if your document is a backdated date more than 3 days, you still can submit to e-invoice. Okay, so system will use today's date for submission, but the document date is still use the document date 5 June. Okay, so if you are version lower, you need to do it manually. Okay, so how to do it manually? So let's say your document here is standard invoice. Okay, so let's say this document is backdated on 5 June also. Okay, so you need to go here, edit, and then you need to click this one, e-invoice issue that time. So here you need to put today's date. So this is the lower version. You need to do it manually. Okay. But I advise you to update to the latest version so that you don't need to do it manually. System will auto submit today's date for you. Okay. Okay. And then you click approve. So this is how you want to do it for the lower version lah. Okay. This one take time. Okay, just now, okay, how to void it? Okay, how to void it? Okay, remember that for void, you only can void within the 72 hours. Okay, more than 72 hours, you cannot void, you only can do CN. Okay, so let's say this document, I want to void, so you need to view, and then you click this one, void. Okay, I repeat again. This document, view, and then void. Do you really want to cancel invoice? This one? Yes. So you need to put the reason lah. Maybe my reason is duplicate. Now it's already cancelled. Okay, already voided lah. Yeah. Okay, so backdated invoice for 20 May. Yes, you still can submit lah for the invoice. But if the invoice is under consolidated, you need to submit within that month. Okay. But for the standard invoice, there is no because LHDN didn't explain in details that what the reason behind that need to submit within the 72 hours. Okay, within the 3 days, which means can only backdated only 3 days. Okay, so most of the systems right now, all the system can backdated more than 3 days. Other system also can backdated more than 3 days, but only for cancel, only can cancel it within 3 days. For submission, can backdated more than 3 days. Okay. This voided, okay, means if you already voided, this one, just now, which one is already voided? Okay, this one already voided kan? So this voided also have submit to LHDN. So let's say this one is I0001101 kan? So you can see in the MyInvoice portal, you can see it's already cancelled in the MyInvoice portal. Cancellation reason, duplicate. Okay, when you void it in the system, it will auto submit to LHDN also. Okay, so okay, let's say you want to edit the document. Okay, so let's say this invoice already validated. Okay, once validated, should be you cannot edit anymore. But there are certain fields that you can edit, which means this field is not related to the e-invoice submission, such as the further description. So let's say when you want to submit to your client, you want to add the further description, you still can add. This one still can edit. Okay. Because this one is not linked to the LHDN, but for the amount, price, quantity, customer information, this one all cannot change. Okay, but other field, okay, like sales agent, you still can edit. Okay. Okay, so done voided. Okay, so let's say you have exceeded more than 3 days. Okay, you cannot cancel anymore. Okay, you need to CN. How to do CN? Okay, so this one, let's say this invoice, I want to do CN, so you can right click, okay, and then you can do partial or full transfer to new credit note. Okay, so if you want to cancel all, you just put the full amount lah. But if you want to give discount, let's say you want to give discount, okay, half, and then you click approve. Reason, discount means reduce the invoice amount lah. Okay, so once you submit for the CN, okay, can see here is already valid lah. Okay, so CN also it will auto send to the email of your customer. Okay. Okay. So okay. So just now I got show you that the approval workflow kan. Okay, so let's say most of your document, if you save as draft or awaiting approval, okay, means after a few days you will maybe after 10 days or after 30 days you will realize that why all my document is in the expired column. Okay, so where to check this maintenance, you go to tools, okay, you go to option, and then here have a new function, approval workflow. Okay, so approval workflow, you can see as default, all this document is tick. Okay, others is not tick. But if you want to apply to other function, you can tick all lah. Okay, so if you untick, if you want for certain function, you can tick lah. Okay, so below here, I got set for my business. I want the document to be expired after 30 days. So you can set here lah. Okay, so make sure within the 30 days, you need to take action on that document. Okay. Invoice submitted and more than 3 days need to be cancelled discount then issue CN. Standard invoice to submit to invoice can backdate. Okay, so invoice submitted and more than 3 days. You mean that, okay, voila. Do you mean this invoice? This invoice 5 June. This one I submit today. Okay, so you mean you want to void this document? Okay, so for this document, means you want to void the backdated invoice. Is it? Okay. If you want to cancel, you still can cancel because the submission date is today. So you can cancel it within these 3 days lah. Okay. But if you want to direct CN also can. Okay. So if you want to CN, make sure you select and then you right click and copy to new CN. Or you want to direct go to CN here also can. But make sure you do transfer from invoice. Okay. And then you select which CN that you want to, which invoice that you want to CN. Okay. If you want to CN few invoices, you can put here lah. Okay. But the invoice number also you need to put to another invoice number. Okay. So, okay. Yes. You can submit the invoice that more than 3 days. Okay. So this function, use today's date as submission date when document date is not a valid submission date. Okay. Means even though the document is already backdated more than 3 days, it is 1st June or 2nd June, you still can submit today. Okay, you just put the document date as the exact date and then you just submit. System will auto submit using today's date. Okay. Okay, I show again how to do the backdated invoice. Okay. So let's say this invoice I have from this customer. This invoice is dated on 6th June. Okay, more than 3 days. Now it's 11th June. Okay. So this one is backdated and then I directly approve. Now approve pending. Refresh. Now it's checking lah. Okay. So but I show you, let's say you didn't tick this one. Meanwhile, I show you. I didn't tick use today's date as submission date. Okay. So when you create the invoice for the backdated, system will not auto fill up the date for you lah. Okay, we have detected your document date is not a valid e-invoice submission date. Do you want the system to assign today's date as your e-invoice submission date? Yes lah. Okay, but if you want to, after this, it will auto submit for today's date. You just click this one. Okay. You can see just now it's already valid lah. Okay. Invoice dated 1st June, then submit on 6th June. Then realize today got issue, need to cancel. So issue CN. Just now I show you still can void. Okay. Just now I show you this 5th June. Just now I submit. Okay. I still can void it. Okay. If cannot void, system will prompt you. You cannot void this document. So if you cannot void, normally it will prompt after 3 days lah, after you submit. Okay, and then you need to do CN. Okay. So if last month invoice still can submit using today's date. Okay. So for standard e-invoice, there is no deadline lah. Okay. But for the consolidated, if it have a deadline that need to submit within that month. Okay. But let's say that document, the customer didn't give you the TIN. Okay, but you still need to prove your income lah. So you just direct submit that document in the consolidate lah. Okay. But if it's a standard e-invoice, you still can submit. Okay. Okay. So just now I got show you the foreign buyer and also the government, right? Okay. So let's say I want to submit e-invoice for the foreign buyer and government. So this is my foreign buyer. Okay. So make sure you put the business and then TIN and BRN, you just leave it blank lah. Okay. And then MSIC code, just put 5-digit 0, registered name, and then phone number, address, postcode, city, state, and country. Okay. And then for government, okay, for government, okay, you don't need to fill up the TIN and BRN. Okay, MSIC code is 5-digit 0, and then business activity description, registered name, phone, address, email address, postcode, city, state, and country. Okay. So if you have this customer, make sure for foreign buyer and government, you need to submit standard e-invoice. Okay, you cannot do consolidate. Okay, so this one, let's say you sell item for foreign buyer. Okay, foreign buyer. So we'll show the TIN lah. Okay, another one is for government. Okay, let me check first. Okay, so just now got show you the foreign buyer and government. Okay, another scenario, if let's say you also have, you are in this specific industry that mandate to issue e-invoice. Okay, so means this kind of industry, they are not allowed to consolidate, like automotive, luxury goods, construction materials, payment to agent, dealer or distributor, aviation, constructions, betting and gaming. Okay, so how you want to set in the auto count, make sure you didn't tick the allow to create consolidated e-invoice, because you cannot do consolidate. All the invoice you need to submit standard e-invoice. Okay, means you need to get the tax entity from your client lah. Okay. Then for all item, make sure you need to add the tax entity lah. Let's say this one don't have the tax entity, system will prompt you. Okay. The same invoice can be submitted either under consolidated or yes, either one. Do not submit both. Okay, just either one. You just submit once lah for each invoice. Okay, because this one is to prove your income. If you submit both, it will prove double lah in your income. Okay. So in the construction materials, so if you are a hardware that's selling items, normal items, and also you also got sell the construction materials, okay, that fall under this fourth schedule of Lembaga Pembangunan Industri Pembinaan Malaysia Act 1994. Okay, so for this item like wire glass, safety glass, coated glass, okay, insulation materials, cement, okay, this item is not allowed to consolidate. Okay, so you need at the item there, you need to must generate e-invoice. Okay. So every time if you issue invoice, okay, for this customer, let's say it is a cash customer, system will prompt you, you need to get the customer TIN lah, okay, for this item. Okay, so in the auto count, just now if you are in that industry lah, under the automotive, all that, so make sure in the e-invoice setting here, you didn't tick this one. Okay, you are not allowed to create consolidated e-invoice lah, you need to untick. Okay, and then if you have a mixed item, let's say I have cement, okay, I am a hardware business, okay, one of the item is cement fall under fourth schedule. So this one, I need to tick this one, must generate e-invoice, okay. So if customer buy other item, you can put cash customer, but if they buy this item, I need to get their tax entity. Okay, so let's say I issue invoice. Maybe this one is cash customer. So she buys cement. So when I click approve, document consists item 006 must generate e-invoice. Okay, doesn't allow consolidated invoice. So I need to get their TIN lah. So this one, if I put the one with TIN, okay, and then only I can approve. Okay. How the treatment, the running invoice number expired. Okay, so once expired, you cannot use this document again lah. Okay, you need to use a new document number. Okay, but if because this expired document you cannot use again, you are not allowed to edit expired or voided document. Okay, but we also advise not to delete this document lah, so that this document you still can see the records. So it is advisable you to use a new running number. Okay. Can customer request e-invoice after done submit for consolidated invoice? Yes, can. Okay, so this one I will explain more in the consolidated part. Okay, how about I sell at e-commerce platform and B2B? I still tick allow consolidated. I'm not the mandatory to issue invoice. Yes, you can tick the allow because you're not in that industry, can. So you still can tick allow to consolidate. Okay, because for the e-commerce, there is another setting that you need to do. Okay, later on at the sub-bill, I will show you that thing. Okay, so okay, so I show you just now how to cancel, which is means to void lah. Okay, and then this version, after you cancel, means after you void, you cannot unvoid anymore. Okay, let's say this document kan, I sudah voided. So let's dia sudah tak boleh edit, and then dia sudah tak ada that unvoid function. Once voided is voided. Okay, you need to create a new invoice number. Okay. And then after cancel after 72 hours, you need to do CN lah. Okay. And then backdated, okay, you can use tick that one. It will auto submit for 2 days date. Okay. And then you also cannot generate invoice for future date. Okay. What you mean cannot generate for future date? If you want to submit for e-invoice, you cannot do for future. Let's see, this customer. I want to submit for tomorrow. Okay. Standard 12th June. We need for the status first. Okay. So like I said just now, for validated invoice, you cannot edit the main details, but other additional details you can edit lah. Okay. And then validated invoice, you also cannot delete it. Okay. Let's say this validated invoice. You are not allowed to delete e-invoice document. Okay. So this one, voila, I check it for the submission first. Okay. So next one is disbursement or reimbursement. Okay, so if your company have a disbursement or reimbursement, so you need to check for reimbursement, we'll use the 0 to 7. Okay, for disbursement, we'll use the, I need to check the classification code. Okay, so let me show you the sample. Let's say you are a landlord property lah. Okay, so you have sewakan beberapa buah kedai. Okay, so that your tenant pay you the rental and the utilities lah every month. Okay, so you as a company, you need to issue e-invoice for them. Okay, so when you issue e-invoice for rental, you can put the classification code under others. Okay, but for utilities, you need to put under reimbursement lah. Okay, you need to check either the utility is on your tenant name or on your name. Okay, if you're on your name, no need, but if on your customer name, you need to put reimbursement. Okay, so this one, let's say I want to do for reimbursement. say this customer, she pay for rental, and then she pay for utility bills. Okay, utility bills 20. So this one, rental is under others, utility bills is under reimbursement. Okay, so this is how you want to issue the e-invoice for your tenant. Okay. Okay, so I think, okay, this document is also valid. Okay, so because this one is issued on today's date, okay, but the document is on a future date, okay. Before this, the AutoCount is not allowed to do this one lah, okay. But this one I need to check again, okay. Is it a new features in AutoCount or is it a bug, okay? Because in the MyInvoice portal, if you can see, if you want to do submission, you only can choose 3 days. 2 days and backdated 3 days. Okay, on the future you cannot submit lah. Okay, but this one, because of the document is submission is today's date, so it allow for the future date. Okay, but this one I need to confirm again. Okay. Okay. So another sample for the reimbursement. Okay, let's say I am the event planner, okay? And then this perniagaan Adiba, she want to do a annual dinner lah, okay? But she don't have time to book the hotel or book the catering, okay? So all the hotel and the catering is built on my name, okay? So I need to give e-invoice for perniagaan Adiba to prove my income, okay? So for my income is the event planning fees lah, okay? But for the hotel rental, I need to put under reimbursement, okay? Because it's not fall under my income. It is for the perniagaan Adiba income. Okay, so for this one, same also, you just, I need to issue invoice for perniagaan Adiba, standard e-invoice, and then for the event planning fees, is under 022. And then another one is for the hotel rental, is under 027. Okay, so this is the sample lah. Okay. Okay, rental, this landlord is individual, does it issue reimburse to the tenant? Okay, so for the rental, actually I have another sample on the self-bill part. Okay, you need to check if your owner is an individual, no conduct any business. Okay, she just do rental lah, the building. Okay, for this individual owner, you as a company, you need to self-bill this owner. Okay, the sample that I showed just now, which is your owner is a company. So for company, you don't need to issue self-bill, but this company need to issue e-invoice to your company. Okay, so later on at the self-bill part, I will show you the sample how you want to issue self-bill for the rental owner, which is individual. Okay, so now let us proceed to the consolidated. Okay, so actually for standard e-invoice is normally for business to business, B2B, which is at the both side of the company need the e-invoice. Okay, on the seller part will prove as their income, on the buyer part will prove as their expenses. Okay, but for consolidated e-invoice is normally for business to consumer. Okay, B2C. Okay, yes, Miss Corinne. Okay, you can either add at the stock or add direct at the invoice. Okay, so may I know, is many of the participants today, is it you are using, is your business is related to business to consumer? Means your business is selling to the end user lah, which is the end user is no need the e-invoice, like cash customer, walk-in customer. Okay, if yes, you can put yes lah at the chat box. Okay, so if, or both. Okay, so if both, you need to make sure for the company that require the standard, you need to get the team. Okay, but for the walk-in customer, you can do this setting lah. Okay, for consolidated e-invoice. Okay, for e-commerce, I will show another one. You need to add on another setting for the e-commerce lah. Okay. Okay, so actually for consolidated, you need to maintain the debtor for the cash sale customer lah. Okay, because this customer is not require e-invoice. You don't need to update their TIN. Okay, so here, let's say this is for cash customer. Here you can tick cash sale debtor. Okay, and then the TIN you leave it blank. Okay, so I will show you the two sample lah. Okay, one is you tick the cash sale debtor, and another one is you didn't tick. So you can see the difference. When you tick this one, later on, if customer requests for e-invoice, you can add their TIN. Okay, but if you didn't tick, let's say this one you didn't tick kan. Later on, if customer requests for e-invoice, you cannot fill up their TIN. Okay, so make sure for cash sale customer, it is advisable to tick this one, so that later on, if customer requests for invoice, you can add up their TIN. Okay, so for cash customer, you just send them their normal cash sale or normal receipt or normal invoice. Okay, no need to validate. Okay, just send a normal because this one. Okay, so for business to business, sometimes even though you are business to business, there are some business that is not require e-invoice because their income is below 5,000K. Okay, so they do not require invoice, they will not give you their TIN. So you can give them normal invoice or receipt. Okay, so for this invoice that you send normal invoice, you still need to do consolidated at the end of the month. Okay, so this is a sample of the normal invoice or receipt lah. No need to have the QR code. Okay, so this one later on. Okay, I show first how to maintain the debtor lah. Okay, you go to AR, debtor maintenance. Okay, here I have two. One is cash customer, one is cash customer SGD. Okay, so for cash customer, how to know business is B2B or B2C? Okay, actually B2B is business to business. You need to check that business is require e-invoice or not. Okay, business to business normally, your customer is a senior berhad or enterprise. Normally that business is require e-invoice lah. Okay, for business to consumer is normally a retail shop or a restaurant or a cafe or walk-in customer lah. Okay, which means that consumer is not a business individual like me. I go to your shop and then I buy some things. Okay, and then I do not require invoice. You can give me a normal receipt. Okay, so this is a B2C lah. Okay, so back to this cash customer. This one I didn't take the cash sale debtor. Okay, so no need to fill up the TIN. Okay, another one is cash customer SGD. So this one I tick the cash sale debtor. Okay, so for cash customer, normally I use cash sale lah. Okay, so for cash sale, let's say this customer is, I use the cash customer lah. This one is I didn't tick the cash sale debtor. So when I issue, this customer buy iPhone, I buy cash. Okay, so it's a normal lah, no submission. Okay, and then if I choose the SGD one, this one is customer that I got tick the cash sale debtor. So you can see later on I can put their TIN if they request for TIN. Okay, let's say this customer buy the phone and then she directly request for e-invoice. Okay, so you can put here TIN, click this TIN here, and then you can choose. If already added, you can choose. But if doesn't have yet, you need to add new lah. So you need to get the customer information. So normally for walk-in customer is individual lah. Okay, but if they want to use for claim for their company, you need to put business lah. Request for their business information, their TIN, BRN, all this field need to fill up lah. Okay, once fill up, let's say this one is already filled up. Okay, so you can see, if I put the TIN here, it will direct submit to e-invoice. Now it's pending, submitted, and it will show valid. So this customer also, if you didn't provide the TIN, it will submit a normal invoice lah. Okay. Normal invoice, no submission. Okay. So for normal customer that not require e-invoice, you just share the normal cash sale that you send. Okay. Normal cash sale. Okay. So this one you need to manually print out and send to your customer lah. Okay. When you print out, you will have the QR code. Okay. It will not auto send unless if you got choose that client here when you issue the cash sale. For the customer that requests for e-invoice, they can request for invoice either on the spot or post-transaction. Okay, if request on the spot means when you create the cash sale, you need to direct ask for their TIN information lah. Okay, like this. Okay, another one, if post-transaction, you can issue a normal receipt first, and then later on, if they come back next week or next 2 weeks, make sure they only can request in the same month of the purchase date. Okay, so if they come back tomorrow, okay, so you need to edit back the cash sale and then put the TIN number. So that is how to update the TIN information for cash customer lah. Okay, so let's see, I put another one for submission later. Okay, so just now you said that you got also cash customer in sales invoice. Also can. You can go to sales invoice. Invoice also can submit for consolidated. Okay, let's say this one also I put cash customer lah. Okay, no TIN. When there is no TIN, system will auto submit it as a normal invoice. Here is no submission. Okay, so you can share a normal invoice to your customer. And also, if there is a business, even though it's a business to business, but that business doesn't have TIN and not require e-invoice, let's say like this one syarikat kedua doesn't have TIN kan? So you can also submit them a normal invoice. Okay, but at the end of the month, you still need to submit as consolidate to prove your income. Okay, so here you can see these two is not submit as standard e-invoice. Okay. So just now like I said lah, if customer requests for e-invoice, you need to get their name, address, contact number, TIN or my card. Okay, you need to fill up at the TIN information there. And then submit as standard e-invoice. So sometimes when a walk-in customer, when they give their information, normally people will only remember their IC. They will not remember their TIN number. So if they give their IC, you can put their IC and just leave it blank for the TIN. Okay, just leave it blank. And then system will put EI9010 for this TIN, the general TIN lah. Okay. But if customer provide you the TIN but do not provide you the IC, so you need to fill up the TIN and then the IC, you cannot leave it blank. You need to put 12-digit 0. Okay. So same goes also for the passport lah, either one. Okay, if they give you passport number, this one you just leave it blank, the TIN. But if they give you the TIN, the passport number, you need to put 12-digit 0. Okay. But now the e-invoice, you can search kan, so no issue lah actually. So if let's say I want to add this customer, it is an individual. So you just get their my card. Let's say they give you my card. And then you can also direct search TIN. Okay, if you want to put a TIN, you can search. But if you don't want, you leave it blank also can. Okay, you also can update the TIN. Okay. Okay, so any of you have using a post system? Okay, if you're using a post system, our AutoCount post also have the e-invoice features at the front end lah. Okay, so when you make the cash payment, okay, they will have a button here, customer information. So if your customer is request the e-invoice on the spot, you can click this customer information and fill up the yellow field. This is the compulsory field lah. Okay. And then you click OK. Customer will get the e-invoice through their email. So the email is a compulsory lah. Okay. And also, this one really show. If customer requests post transaction, means they buy today, and then for the post system, let's say the customer requests for the next week, okay, you need to find transaction, and then you select back the details, the cash receipt, and then you click here, submit e-invoice. And then it will prompt up back the information that need to fill up. You can fill up the customer information, okay? But if you don't want to fill up manually, actually customer can scan by QR code, okay? But they want need to add on module lah, okay? So if you print out the receipt, we'll have the QR code for request e-invoice. So your customer, if they later on, if they want for e-invoice, they can scan the QR code and fill up their information like this. Scan the QR code and then they'll fill up in this information and then they will get email for the e-invoice. Okay, this is for the post system lah. Okay. Okay, so okay, this one already done. Can edit. You just direct edit lah. If customer want to request, you just edit the document. This one no issue actually because you can direct edit for the same month. Okay, because have the new function. Use today's date, even though your cash sale is already backdated more than 3 days, you can just edit the document, update the TIN number, and then you can submit to LHDN. Okay? This one is for lower version. Okay, so now when all the transaction already submitted for that month, at the end of the month, you need to submit for consolidated. Okay, so let's say for this month of September, all your customer requests for normal invoice. Okay, so at the end of the month, before the 7th October, 7 calendar days, including Saturday and Sunday, you need to submit the consolidated e-invoice. Okay, all the transaction in this September, you need to submit in one e-invoice. Okay, and also if you have a multiple branch, you need to submit consolidated e-invoice for each branch. Okay, so our system can differentiate the document by type, by location, and by currency code. Okay. So, okay, I create another cash sale here. Cash custom. Okay, so now I have all the transaction. Now I want to submit at the end of the month. Okay. So you go to e-invoice, consolidated e-invoice. Okay. So here is where you submit the consolidated e-invoice. Okay. So you click new and then you put the date 1st of June until 30th of June. So just now I got document from invoice and cash sale. So you can tick both lah and then generate. So when generate, system will differentiate by document type, currency code, and sales location. So you can see just now I have invoice. I have few invoice lah. Okay, that is not submit as standard. And then you can see I also have cash sale at HQ, and then also have cash sale at Ipoh. Okay, and then under SGD punya currency, I also have cash sale 31 and 33. And then you can see at Manjung also have one. So system will auto create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 consolidated e-invoice. Okay, so you can see here in my invoice here, I000100. Okay, and then 11 until 13, not here. And then it will go to another row, 14 until 15. So where does the 11 until 13 go? So it's either submit as standard or it's already voided. Okay, so system will auto exclude the e-invoice that already submit as standard and voided and only submit the one haven't submit yet as consolidated. Okay, so once okay, you can click save. So now already create 5 consolidated e-invoice. Now already valid. Okay. Okay, so that is how you want to generate the consolidated e-invoice. Okay. So let's say got one of your customer that requests for the e-invoice at the next month, not at the same month of the purchase. So how you want to handle it? Okay. So let's say she buy on 15 August, okay, but she come back on 10 September. So you can tell her, sorry, we cannot provide you an e-invoice because it is already past your month of purchase. Okay, so you can say this to your customer. Okay, this illustration guide is by LHDN lah. Okay, now let us proceed to self-build. Okay, so for self-build, it's only applied for certain scenario lah, like payment to agents, dealer and distributor, goods sold or service rendered by foreign seller, means import lah. Okay, import from foreign seller, profit distribution, okay, e-commerce transaction, okay, later on we have the sample, which is the e-commerce transaction that Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok will do self-build for you, okay, for your company. So you don't need to submit e-invoice for them, okay. And then pay out to all betting and gaming winners, okay, buying goods or service from individual taxpayer, okay, like this one was rental lah, okay, rental from the individual owner, okay, interest payment, okay, claim compensation or benefit payments from the insurance business of an insurer. Okay, so there is a new function which is called self-build, okay, so our self-build also have the approval workflow function. So actually for self-build, for local supplier that you issue self-bill, you need to share the document to them. But for the foreign supplier, you don't need to issue the e-invoice to them. Only the local require the self-bill e-invoice. Okay, means for foreign, you issue the invoice but don't need to share to the foreign supplier lah. Okay. Okay, so now I will show you how to do the rental. Okay, business tenants have to issue self-bill e-invoice on rental and utility bills if landlord does not conduct business. So landlord is an individual, so she will not issue e-invoice to me. So I need to give self-bill to her. Okay, so I need to self-bill her on rental and utilities because the utilities is on her name. Okay, on the owner name. Okay, so rental is self-bill others, utilities also self-bill others. So normally, in your current practice, you will do like this, right? Okay, you will do payment voucher. Okay, so let's say you want to pay for the owner. I want to pay for the rental first. Okay, so for rental, here has a new function, which is you can choose the tax entity here. So let's say this is the tax entity lah. Okay, it should be individual lah, but I want to send to this TIN number. So this one is payment on rental. So payment method, I pay by bank, 200. This one I put on rental. Okay. So this one I pay to this owner rental. Okay. And then save. So another one I pay to TNB. This one is payment on utilities June. Okay. And then I choose bank, water and electricity, 50. Okay. Then I save. So I just make two payment voucher lah. Okay, for these two. And then I go to e-invoice. Okay, and then self-build. New. Okay, so for this self-build, you can copy from cash book entry, credit note, purchase invoice, cash purchase, purchase return, AP invoice, AP debit note, AP credit note. So just now I put at cash book entry kan. So you copy from cash book entry, search. So I search just now is PV 36 and 37 lah. These two. Payment for June. These two Then you click OK. So here, I need to choose lah, normal copy all selected document details into current self-build. Means I want to copy two cash book into one self-build. Okay. So this one I built on 036 others. This one also 036 others. Okay. And then, so this one, make sure the name of the supplier is the individual owner lah. Okay, this one is my sample. Okay, but for you, you need to put your owner team. Okay, which is individual. Okay, and then this is how you want to self-bill both the rental and utilities to this owner. Okay, then you click approve. Ending. Can show individual owner sample. Okay, voila, I show. This one, sementara dia tunggu untuk valid, I show you the data. So this is the sample. Okay, so this owner is individual. Okay, doesn't provide TIN. I just use his my card. Okay, put the name, phone. Okay, sorry, the phone should be +6. Should be +6. Email address, postcode, city, state, and country. Okay. If owner does give the TIN, can we use an RIC? Yes, you can use like this lah, because system will put general TIN if you put blank. Okay, but if you still want to put his TIN, you can search here lah to retrieve his TIN at the MyInvoice portal. Okay. So let's go back to the sample document. Now it's already valid. Okay. So when valid, if you want to share for your owner, the survey will look like this. Okay. The company name is the header is your company name. The name is sub-bill invoice. Here is your owner details lah. Okay. And then got the validated in. Okay. Okay, if they have 3 owner, you need to sub-bill to each owner lah. Okay. So for importation of service, okay, when do you need to issue the sub-bill e-invoice, you need to check when is your payment date. Okay. And then if you receive invoice first, when is your invoice date? And then the due date is 1 month after. Okay. The invoice date or the payment date. Okay. So let's say you want importation of service. Normally, your supplier will give you invoice kan. So you will issue purchase invoice. So issue purchase invoice. So let's say this one is your supplier, and then you purchase of service lah. Okay. So if for service, okay, let's say this one, save. Okay, so actually dekat cashbook tadi pun you boleh right click and copy to self-bill. Okay, here at purchase invoice also you can copy to new self-bill. Just now at the cashbook, I didn't use this method because I want to copy 2 documents in one self-bill. But if you just want to copy one self-bill, you can use this method lah. Copy to a new self-bill, then it will open a new self-bill entry. So here is your USD customer details. Okay, so here you need to put importation of service. And then approve. So you go to e-invoice, self-bill. So here is already valid lah. So you can preview. So this one is same also lah. Individual not conduct business, you need to do self-bill. Okay. So let's say you do purchase invoice also. Or you use payment voucher also can lah. Because they didn't give you invoice kan. So you use payment voucher. Like this one. Payment on teddy bear. Okay. You just use payment voucher, and then you can issue the self-bill. Okay. Because this owner did not conduct any business. Okay. So for importation of goods, okay, you need to include the K1 form. Okay. The K1 number lah. Okay. So when to issue the self-bill for importation of goods, you need to check when is the custom clearance date. Okay. So if the custom clearance date is 29 June, so you have this one is 01, the latest one, you have 2 months, okay, to issue the self-bill. Okay. So here have the column for you to issue the K1 form. Okay, so let's say this one, I got invoice from USD supplier. Okay, I purchased import goods from him. Okay, and then save. So when want to issue the self-bill, let's say this one, I right click here, copy to new self-bill. Okay, so make sure this one is 034, importation of goods. And then here, you need to go to the annexure tab. You need to fill up the K1 form. Okay, and then you click approve. So this is how to do for the importation of goods lah. Okay, I proceed. Okay, if you want for payment to agents, okay, I will also recommend you to do the payment voucher lah. Okay, so let's say you payment for your agent. Okay, also this payment of the commission, you also can copy to the self-bill. Okay, because for payment to agent, you also need to do self-bill for your agent. Even though you pay for your agent, you need to do self-bill for them, not your agent give you e-invoice. You need to give them self-bill e-invoice. So I will recommend you e-commerce voila. So you go to cash book entry, new payment voucher. So here you choose your agent name. So this is my sample lah, okay? So you put here payment on agent, bank. So maybe this one is on commission. Okay, this I just put commission. And then you pay for 40 ringgit for this agent, okay? And then once you create the payment voucher, same also you copy to new self-bill. Okay, but this one you change to others lah. Payment on agent. Sorry. 037. Monetary payment to agents, dealer or distributor. Okay, 037. And then you click approve. So this payment to agent, you need to share this self-bill to your agent. Okay. So another sample is for e-commerce transaction. So if you have, if you are a supplier for e-commerce platform, you don't need to issue e-invoice for them because this e-commerce platform will do self-bill for you. Okay. So let's say this supplier, they sell item to Zipit. Okay. Shopee, Lazada, or TikTok lah. Okay. And then this Zipit will do self-bill to this supplier. Okay. So how you want to handle in AutoCount for this Shopee, Lazada, TikTok, you need to make sure you untick submit e-invoice. But now have a new function, which is for this supplier. Let's say I have supply. Sorry. I sell to Lazada. Okay. And then this Lazada, it have a new column here. Do not submit e-invoice. So you tick here. So every time you issue invoice for TikTok, Shopee, Lazada, it will not submit as e-invoice. Okay. Okay. So it will submit a normal invoice. You see here, it didn't tick for submit e-invoice. So this is how you handle for e-commerce platform lah. Okay. So for this interim relaxation period, if you enable it, all your submission will submit as consolidated. Okay, I show you real quick. So now, just now I didn't tick kan, itu consolidated. So when I issue the new invoice, you can see here, it didn't tick the consolidated e-invoice. But when I enable it, let's say I go to this invoice setting, and then I tick this one, allow interim relaxation period. So I put until 1st January 2026. Okay. So when I create a new invoice, it will auto tick the consolidated invoice. Okay. So means all the document that you issued during this interim relaxation period, all will submit as consolidated lah. So at the end of the month, you need to submit the consolidated invoice here. Okay.